which is very, very good, and I'm very excited to get into this. So, Cosmic Los Angeles, what is it?
Cosmic Los Angeles is a side of the city inhabited by seekers and visionaries. And it's also the various manifestations of their quests for something beyond the earthly plane, be that an internal state or a literal journey into the cosmos. I use the word cosmic rather than just spiritual or esoteric because I believe the sky plays a crucial role in LA's development and identity. From the plentiful sunshine that allowed Hollywood and the movies to flourish, to the clarity that encouraged space exploration and the aerospace industry, to the name of the city itself.
Okay, very good. Okay, we have a lot of work to do. I'm very excited. We agreed we were just going to throw out names in some rough chronological order, earlier to later. We're going to end with the present day. We're going to start with Aldous Huxley. So why don't we do that? Aldous Huxley, his Swami, and the Vedanta Society, and its ashram in Hollywood.
Okay, I think Huxley came here in 1936 with his wife and son and his dear friend Gerald Hurd. And they pretty immediately connected with Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood, and they all became followers and students at the Vedanta Society in Hollywood, and they worked closely with Prabhavananda, and they did some translations of texts, including the Bhagavad Gita. And Gerald Hurd actually founded a college of prayer, the Trabuco College of Prayer in Laguna Beach, with an amazing library, and he invested all his money in it. And I don't know exactly what happened. I do know that Huxley researched his book, The Perennial Philosophy, there, looking at the connections between the various religions of the world, because there was this incredible religious library. But I think by 1947, he had donated this entire property to the Vedanta Society.
But Vedanta still owns it.
Yeah.
I've been to meditation classes out there.
I really want to go.
We'll go. There's a great biker bar where you can stop to go to the bathroom on the way out there. And it's a great joke where I actually, when I was getting my degree in computer science, I had a female professor who was an artificial intelligence programmer. Her grandfather was Brahmin. She was Hindu. She had a bindi, right? She's just, right. And so we're driving out to the ashram, and I really have to pee. So we go into the Spreaker bar, right? And I walk into the Spreaker bar on a Sunday. Like, the Jew and the Hindu walk into the biker bars. I'm sorry. Only in Los Angeles, right? Okay, so only in Los Angeles, you get mid-30s Huxley with his friends, these pacifists, basically, who've left England to preach the notion that you have to avert this world war, which will probably end the world as we know it. They've come to Los Angeles. They're studying esoteric thought. So how does this relate to your notion of, how does this help further the notion of cosmic Los Angeles, Huxley and his work before LSD? We'll get to his LSD work later, but let's just stay focused.
Before LSD, I mean, it's really very connected. I mean, it's searching within for a higher knowledge, and they found it through meditation. And he was a novelist and an academic, and he was a huge fan of William Blake. So he was seeking enlightenment, and I think it was just, for him, it was a natural next step when he heard about, these psychedelic experiments going on, that he, reached out, and he had, voluminous correspondence with tons of people, so he just wrote a letter to Osmond, Dr. Humphrey Osmond, and asked him if he could, bring by some LSD next time he was in town.
So this actually touches on, I think, part of this idea of cosmic Los Angeles that we talked about for the interview. It's a path. It's a path of knowledge within you. This aspect of the divine, even Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. But this other aspect of cosmic Los Angeles you bring up is anyone can do it. So anyone can take a tab of LSD.
Well, I think, some people might argue that's a shortcut.
I would be one of them, but I would agree with that 7 years of meditation in an ashram is much better. But I want to get into the idea now of the path to enlightenment. People come to Los Angeles, and anyone can take this path. You don't have to be a Brahmin. You don't have to be anyone. You don't have to go to school and have a PhD. These are all paths to God, which any of us can take up anytime we want, and people tend to do this in Los Angeles, and that this is what I'm interested in.
Well, I believe that Hollywood, the movie industry, and all this fantasy and elevation of the common man and this sort of alchemy that occurs when somebody is on the movie screen created the notion that Los Angeles was a place where you could transcend the self. And it's part of the cultural DNA of the city that drives people to come here. So because of the depiction of humans on the screen that elevated them to this, other plane, this superhuman realm, people became comfortable with that idea, and they associated it with the city, and it led them to believe that they too could transcend just their common lives. And I think that's what resulted in so many gurus coming out of Los Angeles. I do feel like it's a similar drive as the desire to be famous.
I love it. Okay, let's start talking about superstar esoteric heroes. Jack Parsons being one of my favorite, a gentleman who studied under Aleister Crowley and did some really interesting work, had feet in a lot of different ponds, the aerospace industry, and that is a black magician. So why don't we? I like this theme of the Superman, people taking off their shirts, taking off their normal shirts and putting on their capes. Let's talk about it in the context of Jack Parsons and the aerospace industry and the birth of Los Angeles as we know it.
Well, I feel like the two worlds just come together sort of perfectly in Jack Parsons. This desire to physically enter space, via rockets, and this, urge to be as powerful as God, to be more than human, as you said.
So what were, just quickly for people not up to speed with Parsons, give us because I want to get to Cameron, his wife, give us just a real quick sense of his esoteric work in Los Angeles. I think we can leave it that he invented solid rocket fuel, basically, with a team of engineers at Jet Propulsion Labs around 1936. which is about the time Huxley came. Interesting. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave that for another podcast with people at JPL. But give us some basic beats, because I want to get to Cameron.
Right.
So Parsons as Superman conjuring the female elemental aspect of the universe and finding his wife, his second wife.
Yes. Well, Jack Parsons led the lodge of the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, in Los Angeles at his home in Pasadena. And he performed a ritual with L. Ron Hubbard, who at that time was a science fiction writer, as many of us know. Very interesting. I mean, how can you even get beyond that fact? But anyway, and he and Hubbard performed a working, which was a series of rituals to conjure the Scarlet Woman, which in Crowley's terminology was a magical accomplice. And, you know, as legend has it, Marjorie Cameron showed up at a party that he had one day with flaming red hair and this incredible free spirit and amazing artistic talent, and she was just really an exceptional woman at that time. In the 40s, she had been in the Navy.
Yes. She was a cartographer in the Navy in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. And she, is presented as his student, but she was really a very formidable presence and was, a fine artist and a muse to him, and a very independent person who traveled a lot during their marriage. They got married, I think, within a year of her showing up at the house, during which time Hubbard sort of absconded with his money.
Right. L. Ron Hubbard leaves with all the money and gets on the boat. It's another. We've done a podcast on that. I want to get back to these different worlds colliding in this quest for perfection, in this quest for this part in us that's bigger than all of us. I want to jump ahead. Maybe we can just leave poor Jack Parsons to die in his basement. We can leave Jack Parsons to die in his basement in Cameron's arms. And we can jump ahead to the Vice Squad closing the art show that Wallace Berman has organized with Cameron's drawing in it. So why don't you take us there? Because this, I think, will pull us back to these two core ideas that your cosmic Los Angeles is, which is these other worlds, this quest for perfection, and explicitly the beats, which is my favorite topic, the beats in Venice.
Well, Cameron and Wallace Berman had met in Pasadena. Cameron was connected to the jazz scene through a friend in Pasadena who was Charlie Parker's mistress, and Wallace Berman was a big part. He was illustrating album covers for jazz artists, and so that they met through that world, and then reconnected in the early 50s, and she created an illustration for his journal Semina, which was an art, poetry, culture, handmade journal that he produced, starting in 1955, I think. And she created an artwork